So, hello everybody. Thank you for joining this session. This session will cover FFA, Future Farmers of America. Today we have Ben Meyer, who is the State Relations Specialist. He works with state ag educators and leaders to grow, develop, and enhance FFA and ag education. And we have Marco Ovando, who is the state officer and the first Native American state president representing Nevada. And then we also have Tiffany Pesicka, who is a CTE teacher at Dupree School District in South Dakota. And she will be talking about how she started her school FFA chapter from the ground up. And then I also want to give a big thank you to all of our sponsors of the IAC conference. This session is sponsored by our Champions of Native Agriculture sponsors. And without further ado, I'll let Ben Meyer take it away.
Thanks so much. We're excited to be here and great to share an FFA update. Great to hopefully visit with folks, answer some questions that might come in through the chat, and again, continue to be a supportive partner and an engaged partner with Indian country, and especially the efforts of IAC and youth IAC efforts. And so always good to be here. Wish we could be here in person. But today we do want to talk about a bit of an overview of things that we're working on at National FFA, especially related to growing our footprint in terms of being more inclusive and more cognizant of Indian country and more aware of the important background, the absolutely critical history that indigenous populations have brought to American agriculture. And so we've worked on a number of things over the past few years, and a lot of those have really come into focus this past year. And so we'll share some of that, and then folks will get a chance to hear directly from Tiffany in South Dakota, who has started an ag ed program and FFA chapter from the ground up. And then as introduced earlier, of course, Marco, who has an outstanding background in history as a student leader and now young adult Indigenous leader in agriculture, in FFA, and of course now in his community and beyond. A lot of the focus of what we're talking about today will be about starting an ag ed program. And then hopefully if folks are listening that have an ag ed program in their community, but see an opportunity for a better or more inclusive or more robust ag ed program, we'll cover some of those things too. And so I'll screen share here. If you want to give me the rights to do that, it's telling me it's disabled.
Do you have the ability to do it now, Ben?
I do. Perfect. Thanks so much. All right. So we'll look through a few slides here from each of us that I mentioned that are presenting, and then we'll also take a look at a couple videos here. And so I do want to share from a National FFA perspective that we really do work hard on defining what FFA is. And as it was mentioned earlier, yes, we have been and we are to an extent the future farmers of America. That's what FFA does stand for. But we really work to try to grow that understanding that it's not just directly production agriculture. There's really so much more to it. And that understanding that we operate under, that we really find that's critical, is that 1 in 5 jobs in America is tied to the agriculture economy. And the vast majority of those are not in production agriculture, farmers or ranchers, but all the affiliated jobs with that. And so that's what we work on with our students, and that's important to us when we talk about what we are and what FFA stands for.
People often ask, what does FFA stand for? While the letters stand for Future Farmers of America, it has grown to mean so much more. Today, FFA stands for leadership, growth, and career success in a wide range of career paths. Since 1928, millions of students have been entrusted with the opportunity to wear the esteemed blue jacket. And in the process, they've experienced a transformation. Though the agricultural landscape has shifted dramatically throughout the decades, FFA has been a constant. We are proud to have provided a leading example of technological innovation while paving the way for a field of diversely talented individuals. Now more than ever, people realize the value of understanding where our foods, fabrics, and plants come from. And they are increasingly aware that agriculture is a crucial part of their daily lives. FFA members and organizations are shaping this awareness. They are more empowered every day with knowledge that they take into the communities where they live, work, worship, and play. American history is rich with the stories of agriculturalists of all kinds, from the farmer to the scientist, the doctor to the business owner. And agriculture now has a richer story because of FFA. Today we are grateful for our past and look forward to shaping the future. We are the National FFA organization, and we are right.
And so we talk about that as a critical part of our story, and really defining that so much of what we're rooted in is a 93-year-old tradition. But we really try to look towards the future in terms of what agriculture is and what agriculture can be. And as we've had those discussions, especially over this past decade, the past 10 years, it's become ever more important that we talk about agriculture prior to our beginning 93 years ago. And really American agriculture, as we're starting to better talk about it in our classrooms, better talk about it in our FFA chapters, really dates back to indigenous agriculture and understanding the land, understanding the traditions that make the land productive, and understanding the balance and harmony that can be found in working with land and nature in its best intended set of circumstances. And so that's a critical thing that we like to talk about, especially in our over 8,000 programs. But with over 8,000 programs, we have room to grow because there are more than 8,000 public high schools in the United States. And so if folks that are listening in today or watching this down the road as an archive presentation, it's really some top goal of ours to grow our footprint in ag education, especially in communities that don't currently have a program. And that we put a lot of emphasis in Indian country. And so what can we do to make that happen? And we do get these calls and we do help where we can. And Tiffany will especially talk about this. But one of the critical things is that FFA doesn't stand on its own. FFA is directly connected to a school's agriculture education program. That means a school must be teaching ag ed classes to have an FFA chapter. To make that happen, a school board needs to determine that this is an elective set of classes that our school wants to offer. We have found that tribal councils and tribal leaders often have a great level of influence in making this happen in schools that don't already have it. Schools might already have career and tech ed or CTE classes that can be converted to ag ed classes, and an FFA chapter can be started. And then in most cases, state and federal money become available to help support that chapter. And so where are we at now? Well, we're in every state. The shades of blue indicate how prevalent the chapters are serving Indian country. Those darkest shades there in Nevada and Arizona and Oklahoma represent nearly 3/4 of our chapters are serving at least one student in Indian country, but in often case many, many more. And then you see the shades of blue as they get lighter from there. And our top 20 chapters in terms of percent enrollment, there on the right-hand side, that Monument Valley chapter in Arizona sits at just under 100% enrollment. They've got 100, 150 students in their chapter, and almost all are Native American students. And so there's a look at what we do there. And so one of the things that we've talked about, as I said, over this past decade, as we've really tried to work and grow things, is understanding connections and shared values, shared goals. And so a project that was done a few years ago identified, you'll notice there in the white script lettering, legacy, leadership, generation, celebration, education, friendship, and heritage. And these are key identified values for National FFA and shared values in Indian country. And so these important values have been with us for 93 years. And then, of course, with many people in indigenous populations in Indian country for centuries beyond that. But these are some of our shared foundations that we find important and want to continue to build on and work forward with. And so one of the things that we've done here in the past year, even since COVID hit, is really worked on our inclusion, diversity and equity roadmap and things that we're doing at National FFA. Now, this is not specific to Indian country. This is broad across all populations and across all people to truly be inclusive and provide equity. And so here's a look at some of the things that we're working on at National FFA.
We are on a journey together, a journey driven by this guiding principle. The National FFA organization is a welcoming and safe place where students, educators, staff, alumni, and stakeholders are celebrated as their authentic selves. As part of our path forward, we're working with experts and leaders to develop and implement a plan for continuing to promote and foster inclusion, diversity, and equity. That plan gives us a roadmap to ensure National FFA is a bully-free zone, reflects society demographics in its membership, leadership, and staff, encourages individuality and celebrates diversity, is a place where tolerance, respect, and differences are valued, and is a place for everyone. What are some and only some of the specific processes, practices, and programs that are part of this plan? Create a dedicated inclusion, diversity, and equity staff position. Include additional gender identity options on all forms, surveys, and applications. Relaunch the H.O. Sargent Award to recognize individuals who have achieved success promoting inclusion, diversity, and equity in agricultural education and FFA. Delivery of Future for All immersion curriculum and online platform to build empathy, respect, and acceptance of others. Train agricultural educators to be agricultural education for all facilitators. We are on a journey together, and this is just the beginning. Join us to learn, focus, engage, and share in our unwavering commitment to provide a safe and welcoming place for all. For details about the National FFA organization's commitment to inclusion, diversity, and equity, visit our website.
And so as we talk about what we're doing at the national level, it's really even more critical that we help grow programs at home, that we help reservation communities, that we help tribal communities in Indian country add ag education programs and FFA chapters where they currently don't exist. It's part of our commitment to be more diverse and inclusive. And as I said at the beginning, we really truly believe that American agriculture far predates our history and European history here in America. And so to make that happen, you know, we would call on folks to share culture and influence with school leaders, pointing out the connections between agriculture, between understanding natural resources, and then pointing out how that curriculum can be tied together. Agriculture education classes are extremely customizable. There is no national curriculum. And most state curriculums, if one exists, are objective based, meaning that once the objectives are taught and satisfied, the rest of the curriculum can be determined at the local level. As a former teacher in Indian country here in Montana, I found that to be exceptionally beneficial and empowering, as I was able to work with tribal leaders in the Polson-Ronan area in Western Montana to determine local curriculum that really made sense in my agriculture education program. And Tiffany will talk more about that too. And so there are ways that that folks here that are at this conference, that folks that are at home can connect and get in with that ag education program and share and teach about those connections. If you have an existing ag ed program in your community and it's not recognizing the important influence of Indian country, offer to teach about that, offer to be a guest speaker and draw those connections and make those connections known to the students in that program. And so I like to share this video as a fun example of things, of a program also in Montana, more in the eastern side of the state, of a teacher who started an ag program, brand new, got things started, not necessarily from the area, but has really figured out how to work with students, work with the community, and really do some awesome things for students. You might have to turn your volume up a little bit to hear this one.
Hello everyone, it's time for today's Farm and Ranch News. Rich Lane, a little Bighorn FFA chapter at Lodge Grass High School, received a $50,000 grant from the Montana Department of Agriculture Growth through Agriculture Program. These funds and other loan opportunities will be used for hands-on learning and beef production, while also enhancing opportunities for Native American students to graduate and seek education. Tiny's FFA chapter applied for a grant through the Montana Department of Agriculture Program to buy some equipment and fencing supplies. They recently received funding to buy a chute and other equipment. And then on the backside, for my loan program through the Ag Finance Program through the department, we're going to buy all the youth or help them purchase cattle, and with the caveat that they will run these cattle, sell the calves, sell the steer calves to make money, retain heifers, and then after the youth graduate, then they will disperse of the herd, and then the youth will receive the funds. So it's a great incentive for the kids to stay in the school and get their high school diploma.
The biggest reason I did it was the biggest excuse for not going to college I hear a lot of times is the kids don't have any money. So what we're doing is we got this grant to buy some cattle handling facilities and some equipment so that the students can raise cattle safely, learn how to do it, and make some money. They're going to start as freshmen with a couple bred cows, raise them, they'll learn about nutrition, they'll learn about feeding them, taking care of them, breeding them, and by the time they're seniors, they should have 8 to 10 cows built up that they'll sell, and all the money raised will go towards their college education. To get it started, we're going to do our 2-star green hand freshmen every year, and so it'll be the 2 that exert the most promise, the ones that fill out all of their record books and show them that they're going to do a good job with it.
And this is just one of the examples of what Ty Neal, as an agricultural education teacher and FFA advisor, is providing the students at Lodge Grass High School that are members of the Little Bighorn FFA chapter.
And I started the chapter in 2010, and my first year we had about 12 kids at the end of the year, and now we have over 100 kids. And it fluctuates. We have kids transferring in and out all the time, but at last count, I think we had about 107. We have a land lab at our school, so we own about 80 acres that we run pigs on, and we have alfalfa hay that we put up anyway. So we'll use that as a calving facility, and then we got leases outside of town, and we've actually had a couple of families that say that they're gonna donate some land to us to run cows on.
And this is a true example of the impact and influence that ag education and FFA advisors have on youth across the nation, especially in Lodge Grass. We'll be back right after this.
And so as we talk about FFA opportunities, locally and think through some of what we do. There's probably folks listening that are familiar with our leadership events and some of our really traditional events that have been with us in Ag Education FFA for a long time. So you'll often see FFA members judging livestock, doing ag mechanics type projects, evaluating agronomy crops. Those are critically important events to us. But in some cases, those might not be readily identifiable in Indian country. And so one of the things that we've seen some of our ag teachers that have really found some great success working in Indian country have taken other events that folks may not have heard of and tailoring those to local needs, local interests. And so we have an event called Ag Issues, where a team of 4 to 7 kids can take any issue, and some of the best issues are those being faced locally at home. And it can be an environmental issue, a natural resources issue, a policy issue, and present the pros and cons, present both sides of that issue. Marketing plan is just what it sounds like. You know, what can be done? There's some great marketing related workshops this week at IAC. And so, you know, engaging youth in those ideas that are really wide open and can be tailored to that local level interest. These are some of the things that we've seen some great success in engaging students across the nation, especially of diverse backgrounds. And so getting started at home, another avenue is through a service project. Doesn't have to be competitive. And so we have a lot of students, especially in Indian country, engaged in service where we provide grants. We provide a lot of grants for community service projects. So money's not the obstacle. We'll provide the money. Students get out there and do something that's needed in the community. Work with adults in the community, partner up, and volunteer to make it happen. And the great thing about most of our grants is they require no matching funds. And so we can get money in the hands of chapters to make small projects happen in a really relatively short amount of time. The other third big area that we do with students is we ask that they have a supervised agricultural experience. And this is an individual or team-based project where students get involved in some aspect of agriculture and either work for someone else or make their own small business. And so these are great skills to teach any student across the nation. And this is engaging kind of a introspective, interesting video that some Native students shared out of Connecticut a few years ago.
Wherever we look, wherever we are starving children searching for answers. Why they are hungry, why no one stands up, why no one takes charge. That's where we come in. All across the world, from China to the US, people just like you are helping to stop hunger. From big industry farms to little town dairies, grocery stores to farm stands, everyone has the power to make a difference. Everyone has the power to save a life. Everyone has the power to make a change. Make life easier, those who can't, those who are hungry. You think this isn't real? Take a look outside your front door. Take a walk around. If you don't like what you see, step up, make a change. Save a life because you can. Grow a garden, volunteer at a farm, donate money. The possibilities are endless. You just have to take the first step to make a change.
And so as I wrap up my comments here, we really are committed to ag education and FFA for all. It's been an important part of our heritage for 93 years and something we really have tried to work on for the past decade, really try to bring to the forefront. So anything that we can do to partner with any interested person on this call or anyone who watches this as an archive later, I'll share my contact information. We're committed to growing ag education and FFA in Indian country. And we appreciate all the folks who are helping make that happen. And so there's my contact information there. And I'll ask Tiffany to take over from here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany Pesicka. I am like they said, I am the egg teacher here at Dupree, South Dakota. Just a little bit of background about how I started it, or how it even came about is I started at the NRCS for many years when I was 16 and ended up getting into agriculture. My dad owned the sale barn in Chamberlain, and my brother had a family ranch, and agriculture was in my blood. So I decided, well, I might as well go into agriculture. Ended up going to SDSU. Um, Ended up about, I don't know, I worked for NRCS for a while and really wasn't hitting me right where I wanted it for a job wise. Um, Ended up quitting and wanting to see what I wanted and doing some runarounds. So ended up meeting my husband and moving to Dupree, started as a para, and they figured out that I had an egg background. They came up to me and asked me if I had ever wanted to start an egg program, had no idea what I was doing, did not go into egg ed, went into range science. And the following year, they passed it. They thought it was a need. They passed it. The school board did, and we got it going. I had no idea how to start. I ended up getting on the agriculture. I'm sure every state has this. They call it the Aggies. It's a bunch of egg teachers. Usually they have their own separate email. Reach out to any egg teachers. They are so willing to help. They will talk you through curriculum. I also talked to many people. I talked to Kelsey. I talked to, oh Lord, loads and loads of people trying to figure out what curriculum I'm going to go with. When I say I started from the bottom, I had zero, nothing, absolutely nothing to go on. So I ended up doing that and going forward, finding my books, having to figure out the standards with the state, and working on my alternative certificate, doing all that sorts of stuff. Um, and then once I got that all figured out, I ended up going, starting FFA. I already had kids interested in FFA right when they figured out that it got passed. My first meeting, I ended up having over, I asked myself, what did I get myself into? I had over 57 kids in my first meeting, which we were a really small school. And that is a lot of kids. That's almost half of our school in high school. And ended up bringing them into, didn't fit in my classroom. So I crammed them in like sardines, and we got our list going, and I contacted my state FFA people. They walked me through. If I could tell any person starting this how I started it, reach out, make them help you, make them, that's what they're there for. They want to help you. They want to get you to where you want to see your chapter be. I contacted my state FFA foundation nonstop, just making sure I'm doing things right, making sure I have everything in order. I messed up on my roster. I mean, I made so many mistakes, but they were right there. No, you have to do this and you have to do that, and everything like that. I also started with no lesson plans, no cure all for anything. It was literally from the ground up. The best advice I can give somebody is literally reaching out to as many people as you can get a hold of, because the chances are they have people already with curriculums. I mean, I'm getting curriculums just 2 weeks ago. I got another soil curriculum sent to me, and you might take 2 or 3 things out of that curriculum and it's going to fit exactly where you need it to be. I had also had, at first, I won't even lie. I was wondering what in the heck was I doing getting myself into this stuff. I was like, oh, I don't know. Do I want to do all these 57 kids and take them under? And about 6 months into the job, I figured out this is exactly what I wanted to do and exactly where I wanted to be. My kids, you could tell there was a need. The best thing you can do is just getting them to see that everything is wrapped around agriculture. Even some of the ceremonies, things like that, all that sorts of stuff, it's all wrapped around agriculture. And I literally would connect the dots for them, and they would absolutely, you could see the light bulbs going off. I figured out then I'm exactly where I need to be. I remember from this slide, like our first FFA fundraiser. That's another thing, is fundraise as much as you can. It is a lot of work. There are also many grants out there. Reach out for help with that. Our FFA our FFA fruit, there was such a need. You could tell it's just like a highlight of our community. How many people just love that time of year when our FFA would sell fruit. 57 kids, and we sold over $16,000 worth of fruit, and then organizing and then delivering it. It was quite an experience. We ended up also teaching the students how to judge. Not one of my students knew how to judge. Our first year, we started out judging livestock, horses, and doing plant identification. The students we literally started from nothing. I ordered some plant mounts. I set up some practice tests for that. I brought in, we had one SDSU extension guy who came in, and he worked with SDSU extension and with the at 4-H judging for a long time. And he came in and helped us walk our students through exactly how to judge. I brought in one of our school board members. He came in and he would help me too with judging. There's just so many kids, and he would take the livestock kids, and then I would take the plant kids, and we would be sitting there just trying to, get the education and the things the kids wanted. My first year, I accidentally signed the kids up for Little I, getting down to Brookings for state convention, which was the week later, realizing that I signed them up for the judging contest the week before. We had a lot of ups and downs our first year. We learned so much. I learned so much. The kids learned so much. You'll definitely figure out that there is a need in your community for agriculture education. For our future in our chapter, we are currently landlocked. We're figuring out things on expanding. We really want to get a shop, and we really want to get a greenhouse going. We did the IAC Food Summit, and we did the food sovereignty contest with our poster contest, and I did that with some students, and realizing how much they understand that we need to be more self-sufficient with growing our own food. And they figured that out lickety split and realized that they really wanted to get a greenhouse here. So we are moving slowly, trying to figure out how we could get an egg shop and greenhouse here. I have put bugs in people's ears, but we were still in the process of figuring that out. One of many of my kids, probably I bet a good 10 of them now they're just dead set on getting to national FFA judging contest. They'll get there. It does take some time. And we also have no community park, and that is one thing we are working on as FFA right now. Here are some pictures. This one, we do a safety this year, or last year, excuse me, we did a grain safety, a grain safety workshop, you can say, and we showed the movie Silo, and we actually had a gentleman who got trapped in a grain bin, and he actually survived. So he came in and told us our story. We do Soils Day at our school, teaching. We bring in a bunch of NRCS employees. Egg teachers, if you're on here, do not be shy to reach out to any agency. They want to come in and tell everything and anything about their agency to, you know, you never know when a kid wants to head that direction towards an agency to work. There's more of our NRCS people coming in and doing their soils day. We also do a community carnival, and the kids actually bought their own blow up. I mean, we're trying to do, there's not a lot to do out where we are from for our youth. So we just try to do something to give back every year. That's our goal, is to try to do something to give back where the kids don't have to pay for anything. They just can come and have fun. That is our first time going to SCSU to, or Brookings to judge. That's my horse judgers. And he wants to be a teacher, and he did specifically put he wanted to be an egg teacher now. So you never know, he'll probably be taking my job. Then we went to the SCSU Dairy Bar. Those are my range ID kids. And actually one of those kids figured out an algorithm for the cheat sheets they give you for undesirable and desirable. Yeah, he figured it out. So, and then these kids are my, I take them also to, I try to take them to AI camp. So they learn how to give shots properly. They also learn how to AI, how to take semen out of tanks, things like that. And then that's the first time we got our FFA coats. And so we had to capture a picture there. They're learning how to AI. They had tracks and everything like that. So we always try to do that. I also have kids this year that are going to be going to the advanced school. And those are those two gentlemen that help me out every year with getting more kids to learn how to judge and things like that. That was our year, or we do the float every year in Dupree. And then what could you do? If you're an agency, like I said, make sure you're reaching out or even introducing yourself. One person from, you know, the agency, just reach out to the egg teacher, let them know who you are, let them know you're interested in coming and visiting them. I have NRCS. I have many people come through to my classroom and tell them about their job. I mean, I've had some kids who are like, I want to do that when I grow up. So you never know what a kid's interested in. For egg teachers, never recreate the wheel. Like they always told me, other egg teachers, they always reached out to me, never recreate the wheel. Always reach out and make sure you're just asking anything, because no matter what, those people are there to help because they've been in the same spot you have with having to start from ground zero. If you're a producer listening to this and you're wondering how you could help, I have brought my kids out to producers' places. And I mean, I've had kids who did not know that dirt and soil were the same thing. I have kids who had no idea what hay was. I have kids who had no idea the difference between a combine and a tractor. And I literally got to turn that light bulb on and show them like, hey, this is a tractor, this is a combine, this is why we use this is why we do this, this is where your Doritos come from. Like they literally, I got to connect all these dots. So and if any of you guys have any or need my contact information, please reach out. And I'm done now.
Thank you, Tiffany. Marco, if you're able to close us out here on the session.
All right, definitely. Hey everyone, my name is Marco Ovando. I am a citizen of the Shoshone-Paiute tribes. I'm also served as a past state officer. I served as state president for the Nevada FFA Association out here in Nevada. And then just a little story about how I started through the FFA and how it has developed me into the person that I am today. So I can start off with a little bit about my community. Many people traditionally call it Dokobari, which just pretty much means land of the Numa or Shoshone and Paiute people. It's a very isolated reservation. As you can see on my tribal seal, it's a star right in the middle of Idaho and Nevada. It's very isolated too, about 100 miles away from the nearest big town. And put that in perspective, it's about 2 hours, 100 miles away from the nearest McDonald's or Walmart. So it's a very isolated community, but it's close-knit and very strongly agricultural. And we're also very in tune with our traditional values and sets, as you can see in the picture. A couple of us are out working, collecting camas, and other roots are growing during the wet season of our climate, because we are in a high desert, so it is very dry all the time. So we usually make the most out of it. And that also goes into some of my ag program stuff too. So I'm an alumni from the Duck Valley FFA chapter, and it is one of the largest FFA chapters in the country, with almost 100% Native American enrollment. As you can see from our photo right there, that was taken a couple years back when I was a senior, and right before I figured out I was going to become the state president. And in that time as state president, I got to go around the whole state interacting with members from all over the place. So from small communities like myself, to other ag chapters as small as 6 people, to massive ag chapters consisting almost of entire high schools of a couple thousand, and from rural backgrounds to urban backgrounds. And we also serve several chapters in Las Vegas. So it was a really unique dynamic, and it was a really unique experience to be able to share that part. And since I was the first Native American state president, it was a unique experience to share that side of my culture and how it ties in with agriculture as a whole and FFA's bigger message. When I attended my first IAC conference 2 years ago as state president, I got to listen to Kelsey Ducheneau speak of this quote that remembers deep in my mind before I joined the IAC was, "We are the first farmers and stewards of this land we call Turtle Island." And that is very true in every essence, that we were here working with the land, learning from the land, growing with the land to figure out how we all could work in sync pretty much. And while as state president, I got to interact with both my cultural sense and the FFA's message of growing leaders. Also, we had this unique opportunity where we had, if you could go back then, sorry. We also had this unique experience where we had a national vice president visit my home chapter. And it was very unique because this individual is very keen on Native American issues. He had a close relationship when he served in Arizona. And he was very excited when he figured out he was coming to Duck Valley, which is on an Indian reservation. And when he presented his speech, he was very humbled and excited to see FFA members and from my home chapter reaching potentials bigger than ourselves. FFA just helped me grow into the leader that I am now. I currently work with the Shoshone-Paiute tribes as a public information officer and legislative liaison, working with both states as well as Washington, D.C. on various issues and stuff. And I wouldn't have the confidence or the speaking capabilities as I do now if it wasn't for the help of FFA. So Pisha, thank you for listening and just how my story grew.
Great. Well, thank you all of the panelists. I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 Q&A questions. So I'm just gonna pull them up on my phone. Okay. So I have, is it possible to help start a chapter not living full-time near location? This person's looking to start a chapter on White Mountain Apache Reservation in Arizona because they currently travel monthly for livestock. So I guess the question is, can you start a chapter but not living full-time near the location of where it's started?
Sure, I think starting a chapter is absolutely possible, and providing that support to make that happen from a distance is very doable. The biggest obstacle, the biggest hurdle in getting that chapter started is getting school officials to agree to hire a full or part-time credentialed agriculture education teacher. And so every state has different credentialing rules. Tiffany talked a little bit about her credentialing. She came in through a industry route where she had worked in industry first and then got her teaching credential. So a person does not have to go to college and get an education degree. There are multiple routes to becoming an ag teacher. Once that's taken care of, then the other pieces really start to fall into place. And so supporting that from a distance, absolutely. Providing, some ideas, money if possible. And then this year has taught us how much we can do via Zoom and via distance that we wouldn't have realized otherwise.
Thank you. That also ties in with this next question, sort of. So does an FFA chapter have to be connected to a high school, or could a tribe have one?
That's a good question. We've fielded that question before. It has to be connected to an education entity of some nature. And so we're predominantly in public high schools. We're also in private high schools, parochial schools, and in a few cases, tribal run school systems. I don't know of any current BIA or BIE schools, but I know that's not the question either. Can a tribe outside of the school system have one? The general answer to that would be no, but if that connection could be made somehow with the school system, then the tribe could definitely provide advising, provide the guidance and mentorship to make those, to make the chapter successful. But that connection to the school is intercurricular to who we are. I know Verna will be sharing about 4-H and FERTEP in the next hour, and that's a workshop I'll be attending. And she has a great overview of how ag education can work outside of the school system. And so 4-H and Extension offers that well. We do stick within the school system.
Thank you. I think we can squeeze in one more question. So it says, do you work with any 4-H youth, or are your FFA members past 4-H participants?
I'll answer quick and then others can jump in. We partner like crazy. And so the vast majority of our members are members of both. And so it's a great hand-in-hand partnership. Tiffany, Marco, care to elaborate?
Yeah, my members, they are in 4-H and then they are also in FFA. They do both. And another thing to elaborate on that previous question, you do, because I am one who had to do my alternative certificate. And another thing is to make sure you jump on your South Dakota State education or your state education and see what the credentials are you need to do to get your alternative certificate to become certified. Because usually it's just Native American studies, human entities, like a few courses, and then you also just need to make sure you have a few CTE stuff and you're good to go. So just to elaborate on that. They also offer mentoringship as well. And another is I know a lot of people want to start them by themselves, but it is so crucial to have FFA be an intercurricular activity with a school, because you're actually making them take a class and learn. They get to, and then their SAEs and stuff like that is their hands-on experience. So you really want to like try and push to get your ag inside of your school.
Yeah, and then just to double back on that, my home chapter and many chapters in Nevada, as well as Idaho, incorporate their livestock that they grow in 4-H into their SAE projects for FFA, because both components really are with bookkeeping, raising the animal and presenting it at the very end. And that could go a long ways to helping with like your own entrepreneurships with the FFA and just building up those levels of confidence and leadership. My home chapter, we worked with 4-H programs outside of our realm because we don't have a 4-H chapter here locally. So we worked with those in Idaho and Nevada to grow livestock, horses, sheep, pigs, and to sell those on the market. And our advisors and state staff really work collaboratively with everyone to make sure that those counted towards something, because they are learning components of agricultural education and what they might do in a future career.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for joining, and I really appreciate all of your guys' time today. I think everyone really enjoyed the presentation. So just to give a little bit buffer time between sessions, I'm gonna end this session now. But thank you everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.